doers and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning. With beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world.
The Board of Works meeting, will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Liz, can we please do the roll call?
Mayor Bonta.
Here.
Member Collins.
Here.
Member Lewis.
Here.
Member Farkas.
Here.
Member Mileta.
Here.
All right. Did everybody take a look at the minutes, and is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. I saw there were some people in the audience that said aye too. That's totally okay. It's kind of like when I'm at like church and I know what the pastor is going to say. Like, feel free to, I just wasn't expecting that. As long as you read the minutes, I guess we're okay. All right, so we've got new business. Big Mike solicitor's permit. Is there anyone here to speak for Big Mike? Come on up. Are you the Big Mike?
I am the Big Mike.
Nice to meet you, Big Mike. Maybe if you could just kind of explain, kind of what you're looking to do. I know we've read the stuff, but...
Yeah, I have a food trailer. Just opened a brand new food trailer. Be parked at the Port of Indiana during the day for anybody at the port or anybody serving food. And that's about it. I mean, I've already been inspected through Porter County. I've already got my health department, all that. Serve safe.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. Are there any questions from any board members?
Where were you talking about putting the trailer?
Port of Indiana, they haven't had a food truck there all year long, so they were wanting. I delivered fuel for a company inside the port, and they were wanting a food truck there so they don't have to leave. All those people leave out to go there, so they've already approved for me to park there.
Is it on port property?
It's on the port property, yeah.
I think it would still, because we're still approving a food vendor. Oh, actually, I'm looking at the nod. Ted, do you mind coming up and explaining, or are you just kind of? It's still within the city. Yeah, it's still within the city. The port's within the city, just like something that's like getting done in the port as a business still goes through our planning department. So I guess you could call this a formality if you're thinking about the port as kind of its own thing.
Yeah, and I understand how, I mean, they own their ground, the state does, but do we have their permission? I mean, I guess my question is, if it's on property, it's kind of like when we approve something for the parks, do you have the
Oh,
parks permission first?
so,
Do you have
yeah.
the port's permission?
I can answer
to
that
do
one for you. So us giving approval to operate in the city is separate from their approval to let somebody in. So for example, like you can have a business license in Portage, but that doesn't mean that like, well, if you're just any property owner, you're not just going to guarantee a rental to somebody. I guess a fair question could be like, you guys already have permission from the port to operate?
Correct, yep.
I see we have like longshoremen here today, and I think that you guys are here for something else, but just in case, are you guys here to like vouch for like the excitement of like things coming in?
Yeah, that would be great for our guys out there, absolutely.
Awesome. If there was ever such a day to have somebody looking to bring a food truck into a port, I'm really glad we got the union here, like,
Right.
backing this up.
I'll make a motion that we approve the solicitor's permit for Big Mike's to have his truck out at the port.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we've got Marina Shores Yacht Club live music.
Hello there. My name is Jimmy Weller. I'm the harbor master at Marina Shores, but also one of the owners. There's four of us. Got it. One of the owners of Marina Shores Yacht Club, actually Dockside Management, who is actually runs the yacht club over there. Just give you guys a little bit, I'm sure all of you guys know the history of the restaurants that have been there in the yacht club or in Marina Shores. Starting back with Blue Water. It was a great restaurant, didn't last very long, lasted only for about 2 years. Latitudes then turned into the Beach House, had about a 3-year run. After that, went to Bulldog on the Lake, then down to Sandy Paws. After that, Marina Shores actually took over the liquor license and made it Marina Shores Yacht Club. Prior to us, there was a different proprietor that was there. Had 2 years of ownership of the yacht club and had multiple issues both with us and with different things. So Marina Shores said we're not going to renew their license, which was leaving the yacht club empty. So I myself, as well as my other partners, never had a desire to run a restaurant. This was actually a public service that we felt that we were doing for both the city of Portage and also the Marina Shores residents. I approached, as a harbor master, I approached the owners of Marina Shores and asked, is there something we can do? Maybe we can run this restaurant within Capital Six, side of things. They said absolutely not. However, I gave them a business plan, and they said this is a great business plan. Why don't you go ahead and run with it? So that's exactly what we did. Is we ran with the business plan to try to make Marina Shores Yacht Club successful. We grew from day one. We made this. We said from the beginning, this is open to the public. This is something that we want to have that is family oriented. A place where people can come and not have to worry about, fights or anything else in a bar, type setting. We are a restaurant first we're a restaurant first with a bar that's inside our restaurant. 60% of our income comes from our food. Only 40% actually comes from our liquor and beer sales. We've done numerous fundraisers throughout the 3 years that we have been the proprietors there. Fundraisers from Ogden Dunes Women's Group, Dig the Dunes, Save the Dunes, numerous other kinds of fundraisers. And we feel that we open our doors to everyone. We want to have a place where everyone feels welcome and everyone is part of the yacht club. In fact, one of the yacht club slogans that we have is Marina Shores Yacht Club, where everyone's a member. Over the past 3 years, we've grown. We started off, our menu had 8 items on it. So we had burgers and pizzas, and that was pretty much it. And now we've grown to, if any of you guys have been here, the amount of food that we have is more than tripled. We have sushi on our menu now. We have chef specials. We have everything else. But all this is growing that business, and the business over the past 3 years has actually tripled since we've took this over. We're also one of the only businesses that have been able to run year-round. So we don't close our doors other than the 2 weeks at Christmas and New Year's. That's the only time we have off. We have been, since we took this over, we've been open year-round, so it's one of the other positive things. We also employ over 40 employees at the Marina Shores Yacht Club. My wife and I and Mike and Lisa, who all have other jobs, we consider ourselves cruise directors because we found that if we don't have something going on, people don't come. That's the bottom line. I mean, it's out past where people normally go from the city of Portage or wherever to get their food or anything. But if we have things for people to do, we get people actually in the doors. Some of the stuff that we've done is obviously our live music, which is the reason why I'm here today in front of you. But we do karaoke nights, we do comedy nights, we do all different kinds of events, anything that kind of help to bring people in through that door. So the bottom line is we're asking, the reason why we've been so successful, we believe, is because of our live events and things that we've had that include solo acts, duos, trios, and full bands. We are requesting a permit from the board, special permit, to continue growing our business and to continue to provide a safe and family-friendly environment where citizens can come and experience what Marina Shores has to offer, and which is vacation living every day, which is Marina Shores' logo, or thinking. I also have for the board, just so you can see, if you don't mind if I'll pass these out. This is just an idea of what we have every single week. This is what we have done so far for the summer. It includes what we have set up for the rest of the summer. We do every single, you can see on here, every day that we're open, we have something going on. And this, we hope to be able to continue to do so with this program. Yes. Request for special permit, that is what I was told that I had to apply for in order to have outdoor music at our venue. Prior to this, we had never, over the 3 years, and as I've been the harbor master, it's never been an issue because, again, we're kind of like a private property type thing, not, we are part of the city, but the actual subdivision there, Marina Shores at Dune Harbor, has always said, hey, this is okay, this is something that we've always done. So we didn't even know that this was something that we should have been attaining. So my goal here is just to follow the letter of the law and to actually do what we're supposed to be doing in order to continue growing.
So there were some circumstances that brought this, to our notice. Simply put, we had issues with some residents who expressed concern about the music, being played. Within the city, there are rules about music in terms of how loud it can be, and also there's rules about when music needs to stop being played. I was wondering if our chief or assistant chief, would you be able to come up and just kind of explain the rules when it comes to things like live music, whether it's a band or whether it's being played, and maybe not go into crazy detail, but just why we have some of these rules we have, where it becomes a Board of Works matter, and also what things about this make it not unique, but what are the unique aspects of how we got here to the Board of Works?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I think I could explain it in a nutshell pretty easy. If you go to our ordinance, section 42-30, there's some general prohibitions regarding noise. Section 4231 has actual specific restrictions, okay? And one of those restrictions, I have to find which one it is here. It says the creation of noise by any radio, television set, phonograph, musical instrument, tape, or record player, amplifiers, and similar devices. Those are listed under prohibitions. When it comes to our attention, we're going to enforce the local ordinance. The reason it's before your board is obviously we want businesses to succeed. So there's a mechanism within the city that can allow permitted uses of certain things that are prohibited by ordinance on very specific times, locations, and specific activities. So your board has the the authority to permit those activities at specific locations. That's what I have to say in a nutshell. So to the letter of the law, it's a violation of ordinance. No different than a block party. So if I wanted to have a block party, I live on a dead end, I can't block the road, I can't jam the music, but if my neighbors and I were to get together, come before the Board of Works and ask permission, we can have a block party in our street. So that's the authority given to the Board of Works. I think the city attorney could probably speak more clearly to that than I can. So again, I don't want to
There
put
been
our.
any issues this year where Marina Shores was called for what they were doing without Board of Works approval? I don't mean that too, like, in a strong way, because as noted, it wasn't explained to anybody that there needed to be Board of Works approval, but has there been any issues in the last 3 years or however much time's been going on?
So we've received some complaints. We addressed those as law enforcement. Mr. Weller and I had a conversation. He was unaware of this process. I explained it to him, and he filled out an application to follow through.
And what on this application, as I understand it, this is to go from 5:30 to midnight on certain days, anytime? What are the, yeah, Mr. Weller, could you describe the parameters that you're looking for special permission for?
Yes.
Yeah, basically there's what you're already allowed to do. Well, what things are you asking for here that are, I don't mean to say what you're not allowed to do, but what special permission
Right.
are you asking for?
Well, we're asking to have the live events. So our live events, as you can see, Thursday, they start on Thursdays. Thursdays, they go anywhere from as early as 5:30 to start time, and as late as 7 o'clock. Those always end by 10 p.m. on Thursdays. The reason why it was abroad, because I believe that when I was speaking with Diane, she was saying that just go broad with the application process. So that way it incorporates Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can see that, karaoke, we have karaoke's that every Friday, it starts at 8 o'clock. That goes till midnight. That is our lowest or our longest thing. 95% of the time, that is actually indoors. We actually do that indoors in our event center, so it would not even fall under a permit needed. There are times, there's been 2 occasions this year where we have done karaoke outside. The boaters loved it. Everyone loved it. But those usually go until midnight, and that's the only reason why we're requesting till the midnight. Prior to that, everything else is, done about 11 o'clock. The bands, again, they start usually between 6 and 7 o'clock and go till either 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, depending on what time of year it is. So our special request is for the events, to have these outdoor events that would fall under the protection of having an event, which is the other part of that ordinance that Assistant Chief was saying, that if we have a permit that supersedes the music that is being amplified or coming from a musical instrument or whatever, so we would not have to, that keeps us from having to abide by that.
So I think we need to have some means of determining how loud this can be. Because
Okay.
I'm familiar with the property.
Yeah.
And there are houses right there.
Right next to it. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So is there anybody here
We
who
actually have a
lives there?
video, Trevor's got it set up if we want to see an example of some music, and
Right.
you can clarify, Mr. Weller, like, this might be extreme, it might be like this, how to put it, what's about to play was sent in to us, so to put it simply, this might be an example of like the loudest, the middle, or actually the quietest,
Right.
But if it plays, would you mind kind of explaining to
Yeah,
us,
absolutely.
Thank you, man, and I appreciate that, we just want to make sure that we're balancing this. If this were like on Central Avenue, there's kind of an element of, and that's always the trick, right? You've got stuff outside. We get it when we have a concert at Founders Square. Sometimes you'll hear of a concert at Founders Square and you'll love it because you're sitting on your front porch and you can hear it from Hamstrom, right? Or I can hear it from Hamstrom, Then other people, they don't like it. So we're trying to balance, what people hear. Trevor, are you ready? Yep. Cool.
There we go. Let's see. There's a few of them here, so I'll just start.
Didn't know you were going to get a free concert at a Board of Works meeting,
There
did
you
you?
go.
Hey, Day.
Is that as loud as that goes?
I can go louder.
So this is just a sound meter as well. Okay, obviously it's not, neither, I don't know if either one of this is calibrated. You get an idea of where that sound meter is at. You can see where we're at here. It's very similar. We can still have a conversation, we can still talk. I believe that was the number, you have the date on that, when that was?
I believe June 15th.
Saying that again, just because there's people watching this. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we saw, enough there.
So I guess,
There's probably
like-
people online who are like, what just came up on my feed from the government page? Yeah.
The questions that I have, so obviously we've seen the meter, and I'm looking at the chart that was in our packet that calls that loud. What is permitted at an outdoor event?
Ted
Do we know
or
what?
Tom, would one of you guys be able to explain? Just kind
We
of
are
normal-
involved in a festival that I think might be up in the, a little bit higher than
Well,
that.
I'm even thinking like, just hypothetically, Nativity Fest, where we've got two chairmen and like an unofficial like chairman and the son of a chairwoman, like I'm almost like wondering like, what are the rules and where does this normally come in? Ted, could you explain?
So
Yeah.
it depends on what section of the ordinance you look on. So there's typical noise, and it gives decibel readings, but my cops aren't scientists, all right? They're not going to have those tools, that equipment, or that education to determine decibel levels and things like that. And hence, the other section of the ordinance which speaks to specific prohibited activities. So without getting into the weeds, the specific prohibited activities listed in the section that I mentioned earlier is where this falls. So we can pick through the ordinance to get into the weeds, but the fact of the matter is the cop on the street's going to read the ordinance and enforce the ordinance, and I read it to you, speaking about specific prohibitions.
So I guess where my question was coming, and first off, Mr. Weller, congratulations. I think, I've been there many times. I mean, you've done a great job out there. Looking at this ordinance, I might be in violation of that in my own backyard. I'm surprised my neighbors haven't called. But I guess my only concern is it's 4 days a week for the whole summer. So if I was a resident and, it might be, that might be overkill. If we were talking Fridays and Saturdays, I live in a community that's got a bar, and I'm sure a lot of your residents come in and out of there to eat or
Absolutely.
whatever. It might be, but the fact that you're going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it might just be too much. And I guess my question, that's the reason I asked about what is legal. Is it possible to go out there and like calibrate how loud the music can be? Maybe it doesn't need to be because it's a smaller space, right? Maybe it doesn't need to be that loud. You can work with the bands to tone it down where it doesn't interfere with the residents. And
Ultimately-
but if I was a resident there and I lived one of the houses that was close, it'd probably be pretty cool for a while. But there might be sometimes I'm like, man, I'd like to go sit on my patio and listen to my own music, or listen to a ball game, or just have quiet time, read a book, and it might be that might be much
And I
for
think
4
that-
days a week all summer.
And I
That would
think
be my concern.
to match that, I mean, I certainly understand that, simply put, I think that it's fair to say, and I'm glad to see that business is successful and that the restaurant's doing well. And quite frankly, as somebody who kept trying to come to all the different restaurants that were available in that building, it was tough to kind of watch them come and go. So it's really great to see the consistency. I think that if you're living, and how do I put it? To some extent, we choose where we live, and so we know that there's things that can happen based on where you live. If you live at the Promenade and there's a, just hypothetical, 3-6 Mafia concert going on, by the Promenade, there is an element of like you're choosing to live near a place where there's a regular concert venue. Similar to if you live, and I've never had a complaint, I don't think, but if you happen to live on Sunrise, you might hear Nativity Fest, when it's going on, but that is a one-time a year, event. There's some kind of planning to it. I think what we're trying to balance is really just, I think what Andy said. I think for me, when it comes to like Thursday, it's really like the sleep. Like, I don't live near you, but like I work on Fridays. So like for me, as much as I might I'm just thinking personally on a Friday night, I might kind of balance my expectations. Same with maybe a Saturday. I mean, Thursday in particular, like if you're talking beyond Friday and Saturday, I am a little concerned about people wanting to be able to sleep. I don't believe that the 3-6 Mafia concert's going on a Thursday, right, Rusty? Okay, cool, thanks. Yeah.
And is that something that could be tailored? I mean, I know you
Yeah.
got a schedule out already with maybe one guy or gal
And that's-
acoustic
so if
that
you-
maybe the volume's down a little bit
If you
on
look at those,
Thursdays.
on those Thursdays events, that's what they are. They're sunset serenades. They start earlier. They're acoustic. For instance, Dylan Raymond, he's a solo artist, Nashville recording artist. It's a 7 to 10 p.m., and it's a single person, so it's a solo act. I guess I could have probably wrote those out a little bit better. High Street is a duo. Chicken Dolphin starts at 5:30 and only goes till 8:30. That's the one for this, this week coming up, and it's.
I believe that that's already, and I'm sorry, I feel like Ted is going back and forth, but, I mean, I could probably ask the attorney too. I feel like the timeframes already listed for the Thursday event, I think they fall into the ordinance already. I might be wrong, but if you're
It is
ending
the ordinance, but it's that special I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Like, if something's ending at 10 PM, Ted, can you explain to me what's out of bounds on a?
There's two sections of the ordinance. There's several check marks, let's say. One of those in the ordinance, the second ordinance that I provided was, there's one subsection, I should say, that speaks to a time frame. There's another that talks about general prohibited noise, and they're not related. So the time's not the issue, it's the noise.
Mr. Weller, I trust that this is not your intention, but like, from a Board of Works perspective, and it's not about you, it's about kind of the anybody, part of government.
Absolutely.
For me, like, giving permission to go till midnight on a Thursday concerns me, because like, even if you like honorably like follow like the
No,
same
absolutely.
thing and you stick at 10, I'd be more comfortable looking at issues like for Friday and for Saturday than a Thursday, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
so-
I also don't want to give you an inconvenient schedule, but I feel like there might be something a little more surgical on this petition I'd like to see, but I also don't want to like waste time, so I'm just trying to figure out what we
Absolutely.
can accomplish here.
I'm totally fine with that. When I was given the times to Diane, she was like, "What's the earliest you start, and what's the latest that you finish?" And those how we came across those times, and it wasn't specific. Our dates, our times are specific on our calendar. For Thursday, for the kind of music that we have, on Thursdays. And it's as early as 5:30 and as late as 10 p.m. That's as late as we ever go on Thursdays. Fridays is the only time that we go later, and it's only when we're outside. The rest of the time, we're inside, so it doesn't affect any of that. And that's the only time it really goes till midnight, unless we have a holiday or like we just had our Venetian night, something like that. Typically, we usually go to midnight. This past weekend, we only went to 11. We cut it off at 11, and if at 11 o'clock's the time on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays as well, I'm totally okay with that. The only time we have events on Sundays are because we have Labor Day and Memorial Day, which falls on a Monday, and that's the only time that we have those events on a Sunday. So the rest of this, like here, you see the Queen of Hearts at 7 p.m. That's actually part of our drawings that we have every single year. It's not a band, it's just something else that we bring people in for.
Are we looking to approve a specific limitation of time for the music per each day that he's asking?
So what's on and as noted, he explained why. It's because Diane kind of asked him like the minimum and the maximum to get it in there. And that's not an issue from my standpoint. Other than, I get why Diane recommended that, I'm not trying to say anything about Diane. It's to say that for me, I think that what this petition says is it's very, very broad approval. Let me just put it this way, and I might be overthinking it, but as a conservative guy in government, that's kind of my job, is to overthink it. You might get an offer to sell the business next week. That guy, you happily like sell it with like great money. That guy then inherits this approval, and then he does the max of what we allow based on this petition.
I totally get that. I mean, I understand that and respect that.
Guess
If-
what I
And this
wonder.
is broad enough so you don't have to come in here every week and ask for
Every
permission
week.
again,
So-
right?
Could probably, I think, do that for sure. I think there's also something to be said for is that we also don't want to complicate it where if there are issues that come back later, that it's like, it's too late, we've already got the Board of Works approval, I understand why the application is so broad. I guess what I'm wondering is between now and next Tuesday, I'm not trying to force you to come to another meeting, how many things are happening between now and the next Board of Works meeting that maybe we could have a solution for to get you to the, when is the next Board of Works meeting? Is that the 20th?
29th?
29th? How many things do you have coming up between now and the 29th? Maybe we can make a solution for them,
Yeah.
but then we can spend a little time making a more detailed solution, for the
Absolutely.
rest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have this Thursday from 5:30 till 8:30, the Sunset Serenades, which is an acoustic set outside. Karaoke, that the 16th is inside, so it doesn't even fall under, this. We have the Mud Sharks from 7 to 11 p.m. on Saturday. The following week, Dave Amarillo's a one-man band, so he plays through, a bunch of different musical instruments, but he's only one guy. The 22nd, and that's from 7 until 10 p.m. Cloud 9 from 7 to 11 on the 24th. So we really only have 4 events that are scheduled that would fall under this if I need to.
Yeah, so as I
readjust.
look at it closer, because you're really talking 2 nights of outdoor events, right?
for the
It's not-
outdoor events, yes.
For the
And then-
outdoor, the indoor's different.
The
but
indoor's different, but it's and that's, again, for the reason for the blanket, was when on that, say, the 23rd, we end up getting a private event. We've been doing a lot of memorial services and, celebration of lives, that obviously we can't plan those. But all of a sudden, that happens maybe on a Friday night, and then that Friday space that's normally set up for karaoke, now we're going to have an event in there, so we would put the karaoke outside. That would be the only time that would vary.
I'm wondering if there is, and I apologize, I didn't expect that to be something that came up, but that said, I would think within the next 2 weeks, I think that unless I've got different advice coming from the attorney or different suggestions from the board, is there a way that we can approve as advertised? Like take the events that are currently, but within their parameters. So if you've got something listed as going from 5:30 to 8:30, for example, could we approve like that? That's the time parameter, we give the permission for it to get us through the next 2 weeks. And then that way we can do something a little bit more just detailed, thought out going forward. And I don't just mean for the rest of the year. I know your petition's for the rest of the year, but come on up, Ted, but I'd like to have
little more
something
permanent.
where.
But my only problem with that, Mr. Mayor, is, you're booking these bands out, right? So,
Yeah,
does that kind of hamstring him on not being able to put a calendar together to?
It's a
book the
good point.
band?
Well, and to be fair, the calendar is put together, so I think that they are booked. This is more of there was a catch that, wait, this needed Board of Works approval, which we're trying to fix. I think in good faith, you can trust that we're not trying to cancel the shows you have already booked, but Ted, maybe you can answer.
The only thing that we as the police would ask is that, again, this is an exception to the typical enforcement of an ordinance. The only thing that we would ask is for a very specific activity at a very specific location at a very specific time. Then we know what to enforce and what not to enforce.
And I
So
think
I hope
that-
the board takes that in consideration whenever they do
And
it.
if that's the request from the police, I think that matches pretty well, because you have the events as advertised. Simply put, if this hadn't all come up, you wouldn't be here today. This would have already been set to go, as you've got advertised.
Right.
So, I think we could approve, certainly for the next 2 weeks, the stuff that are there as advertised, but as they're advertised, rather than what's on the petition, or application, which is 5:30 to midnight. We could approve those individual shows as long as they follow the parameters as advertised, unless there's. Right.
So you're talking about just getting them up to the next meeting, where then maybe he's got time to button things up and get a little bit more precise for us to approve the rest.
Yeah, he can sit down with Ted. That way, that what you guys already have advertised for the next 2 weeks, we would have set within those parameters. But then in those next 2 weeks, you'd also meet with Ted or whoever Ted wants to designate, but I know you're really good at this, but simply put, everyone's looking back at Ted now, sorry. That would be a way for us to come back. I think that's the point. So if our police are asking for something very specific, because what we're talking about is an exception to the rules, I think that it's fair for us to approve something very specific. This is quite broad, is my only concern.
I just like something to say about how loud it can be.
And that was my next thing, and I have no problem with that, and that was my kind of purpose of bringing up the decibel readings, just so you guys can see that. The decibel readings they were getting was in the 70s, which is pretty much what I'm getting as me talking through here is in the 70s. When the officers were there that night, they were actually on body camera, and like I said, I didn't know that I needed footage or anything, I would have subpoenaed for that, but I didn't.
We don't have a
know-
discovery
I
process
didn't-
yet for
I
the
didn't
Board of
know that-
Works, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
So, but I've also talked about that, because the officers even made comment that the band is playing, this was after, it was called, band was started back up again, and we were still able to have a conversation. Obviously, I do not want to have a restaurant where people are going like this when they're trying to eat and trying to enjoy themselves. The majority of the stuff is lower. We do turn it up later on at night, usually after that 9 o'clock, which between 9 and 11 is usually when, Saturday nights, when it gets a little bit louder. But if you guys have a decibel, suggestion that we can go with, 80 decibels is from, 50 feet away, that's the same as being in a loud restaurant, loud, boisterous restaurant, inside a restaurant. That's a very loud conversation. You can still talk, you can still have everything, with that. Concerts, when you're going to a concert, you're over 100, Metallica concert this past weekend, you're over 100 decibels.
Nobody lives
No
next
one-
to the stadium, though.
No one, yeah.
Do you mind, Attorney, do you mind bringing your microphone a little close? Just, no problem.
So in that situation, what you're describing, though, is that you went to the concert voluntarily. You went
No,
to the
I'm just-
you went to the restaurant voluntarily.
Right.
What we're talking about are neighbors
On the
that didn't
outside.
ask for the noise.
Absolutely.
That, you say decibel, whatever it is, 71, 75, but those aren't people that are at your restaurant. Those
Correct.
are neighbors that are hearing things that maybe they don't want to hear, right?
Right.
Just so I have.
No, I
that.
get that. I was just talking about the volume, of that. And I get going to a concert, but I was saying how loud, in a dangerous level. I think that was one of the part that, that they were bringing up, that it is, it's dangerous to hear something, over 90 decibels for a loud period of time, which I totally get that. I don't want that. I don't want people to be having problems.
And you also said that the noise goes up later in the evening.
Between-
Which you may like, which everybody may like that's in your establishment, but neighbors may be winding down from 9 to 11, right? And wouldn't want the
On a
noise to
Saturday,
go up.
on a Saturday, that's,
No, I
I'm
know.
talking on a Saturday.
Everyone has different views of what's
Right.
fun on a Saturday night.
Trust me, the last thing I want to do is have issues with my neighbors. I should have mentioned that I actually live at Marina Shores as well. I'm the second, there's 3 houses. It's myself, the Grahams, the Turners. We all live kind of all in that same area, and we're all there. So obviously, at the same time, I'm biased because obviously it's our restaurant. I'm not trying to say, oh, this is, but I want to be able to sleep as well, and my wife and anybody they might have at our house. So,
You guys have a pretty strong HOA there too. Have we heard anything from the HOA?
so
regards
the
to
HOA, it
this?
has not been brought to HOA. I believe that it's possibly on the docket for, is it for next week? Do you guys know? Okay. We have an HOA on the 19th.
If you'd like to come up, if you're speaking as the HOA, are you comfortable if you're speaking from an HOA? Feel free to come up, just, we're not in a debate, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, the HOA isn't going to matter to us. We're going to enforce the law.
Oh, I understand that, but just to clarify
Well, I
the
guess I was
question,
asking if there were complaints from the HOA. That's why I was asking.
I guess
that.
if you don't mind me asking, you guys are the house that had the video, is that right? You mind coming up and just speaking to that? Yeah. Thanks.
Hello, Eddie Graham, 1193 Bayside Drive. I would just like to point out a couple things. The distance from the stage to the end of their property is about 20 yards. The distance between the stage and our property is 75. There is absolutely zero reason it should be 70-plus decibels on our property, and there's another video where it's 50 decibels inside the house. And we can talk about, oh, it's a normal talking volume. If somebody talks to you for 4 hours, it is going to drive you insane, with no breaks, no stops. And that is why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and I do think that there is something to be said about distance and things like that. And again, I appreciate just the calmness of everybody. We're not trying to really, as a Board of Works, get into a specific neighborhood thing. At the same time, we do need to make sure that what we approve here is consistent with what we do in the future. So we appreciate you guys really being our, I guess, our test case, our first case, you know?
Yeah, my goal is obviously not to be argumentative or to have any issues with my neighbors, friends, family. You know, we have a business to run. It is thriving. This is part of it, but also I'm a resident as well. So like I said, the last thing I want is to have issues and have problems there. So I'm willing to work with the board, work with my neighbors, work with the HOA, whoever I need to in order to, set some kind of parameters. You know, I'm not in the business of breaking the law, so.
I think simply put, I think kind of as noted, there is a schedule as advertised, so there is a way for us to give some approval within parameters. And what I would say is like, just using an event, for example, going from 5:30 to 8:30, I think could be much more reasonable than giving permission to go all the way to midnight on a Thursday. I think that if we're able to approve what's on schedule, unless there's other concerns brought up by the attorney or the board, I would feel good about allowing us to know that the next 2 weeks can kind of get through. And that gives us some time to see, A, what's improving on its own, but then also B, that gives some time for the police, Mr. Weller, to, meet and go over basically a more like surgical, like a little bit more of a less broad approval that could come to this board. Again, like I say, I understand the reason for broadness sometimes, but I just think that this might be a very wide range it's been applied for. But I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or in a
I get it.
disagreeable way. I get why you were advised to put in what you got put in.
Right, no, I get it. Do I need to make a formal request, or would that come from you guys?
From now till, I guess what would be our next board meeting on the 29th, or the 24th, yeah.
Yeah, 24th, sorry.
And I think we're asking if we can, I think approving it as advertised. So rather than going all the way to midnight, if something is 8:30, it's stopping at 8:30,
So we'll approve as advertised until the next board orders. Those are already on.
That would be what I would do if I was in a position to make motions. I just can't as the chair.
I'll make a motion that we approve the events that are already on the calendar for the times that are on the calendar until our next Board of Works meeting, when maybe we can be more specific going forward.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And maybe we can all make a visit out there and listen to it for ourselves, too.
I think we're gonna
Would be
I feel
helpful.
a bit
Which we also-
obligated to go and see myself and, What happens if we have to get approval for Nativity Fest next year? Like, how many of us would have to recuse ourselves to go and?
You wouldn't have a quorum, so we're okay.
Okay, got it. Right, we did, so I think we're all fine. Okay. So, Red Carpet Lounge Carnival, is someone here? Oh, hello, come on up.
I'm Stephanie Hubble. We've been in business for 60 years. You usually would see my mother, but unfortunately, she's not as well to get around now. We're trying to do an outdoor party. We wanted a carnival type, more, I guess, adult fun, instead of cakewalk, maybe a beer walk, whatever. But I do believe it may end up turning into a 60-year bash. I'm looking to sell. As you can see, there's a for sale sign out. So I would like to do one last big party for 60 years in business and hopefully pass off to a new owner. That's kind of what I'm doing. We're looking at September 14th on a Saturday. We're looking to take the back part of the bar's parking lot and the back part of the bar, put a little 10 by 10 tent to serve beer outside, and then also have maybe a DJ back there. Nothing crazy.
Are there any questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the Red Carpet Lounge Carnival.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you so
you.
much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Pray to God we're sold.
Are they going to keep the taco recipe?
Actually, the taco recipe retired. That was my sister. Thank you.
We have recommended CO1 24-1 CCMG paving plus, if I'm doing this right, comma, $196,900. Hey, Sandy.
Good morning. So what you have in front of you is a change order for our 2024 Community Crossing Matching Grant Street Paving and Repair Project. It is an increase of $196,900. This is due to stormwater infrastructure that had to be removed and replaced. We're coming to you today because the Board of Works holds the contract, although when the invoice comes in for this specific line item, it will go to the Stormwater Board, which at their last meeting approved the estimate and are aware and expecting the invoice for this work.
Are there any questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve change
Wait,
order.
I have a question. Okay, I do have an invoice in here but it's not signed, for Gateland Heating for the 15,000.
That is their estimates for the work, or it might be actually the change in addition to the proposed work, but these are just documents that are backing up the number for the change order. So it's not an invoice that you have yet. You'll get an actual pay application with the invoice attached. So yeah, you have two actual documents. The original one was an estimate for $164,000, but then they did a field change while they were installing the infrastructure, and that was an additional $15,000. So that equals out to the $196,900.
Thank you for the clarification.
Of course.
Do we have other questions or a motion?
I make a motion, we approve change order number 1 in the amount of $196,900.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Up next, we have CO2 2024-1 CCMG paving plus. Is that, $18,585? Is that right?
That is correct.
It wasn't $18.58.
No,
Yeah,
I
got it.
wish. I wish it was. So this is change order number 2. We ran into some areas where there just wasn't enough road base underneath locations that we placed new ribbon curbs. So we had to add a line item for some crushed concrete to stabilize the subbase in order to put the curb on. They put down 315 tons, which equals at $59 a ton, $18,585. So this is work that they have been working on Airport Road, and the department would recommend approval of this change order.
Do we have any questions or a motion?
I make a motion to approve the change order number 2 in the amount of $18,585.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then up next, we've got opening bids for Airport Road and Loot Road traffic signal. Like, so thrilled about this. And
This is exciting. So we've been waiting on this for a couple of years now, until our property acquisition went through. So our first bid is from Hawk Enterprises, Inc., and they're out of Crown Point, Indiana. And their bid amount is $322,821.10. Of course. $322,821.10. And our next bid is from Midwestern Electric. They're out of East Chicago. Midwestern Electric's bid is for $344,739.04. $344,739.04. The department would recommend that the board take these bids under advisement so we can review them, review the bid documents, and come back to you at the next meeting with a recommendation.
Is there any questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the bids under advisement for the airport and Loop Road traffic signal.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have a contract for inspection services for Airport Road and Loop Road traffic signal.
What you have in Dropbox is a proposal from Avon-Marsh Consultants. They designed the traffic signal projects for Luton Airport Road, and they are proposing construction inspection services for a time and materials not to exceed price of $9,500. Unfortunately, staff doesn't have the skills to make sure that everything is installed according to plan, so obviously we would recommend that we approve this contract.
Are there any questions or a motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract for inspection services for Airport Road and Loop Road traffic.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have the opening of bids for the fire station HVAC system. Chief, are you here? Ah, there you are. As he's coming up, I think I saw some people in the audience who are like, wait, weren't we just talking about that traffic signal? But I hope it makes sense now. We had two different things about it.
Good morning. We have two bids to replace our HVAC system in Station 1, the headquarters. First bid is from Mechanical Concepts, 750 South County Line Road, Gary, Indiana. I learned from Sandy, I brought a letter opener.
They don't tell you, but they should, when you go into local government of any sort, make sure you have a letter opener.
No, definitely not. So I have to do some quick math because they broke it down into two parts.
Chief, if it's in different
Yes.
parts, could you read both and to us and then total them?
Yes, absolutely.
Liz, I think that would be the right way to go. Was that correct? Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first portion of it is to replace the existing HVAC system, split the heating and cooling system for $184,890. The second part is to upgrade the temperature control system for $75,980 for a grand total of $260,870. $260,870. The second bid is from Circle R Mechanical, 6620 Shepherd Avenue here in Portage. Okay, and this appears to only have one price, so everything all together for $206,400. I would request that the board take these bids under advisement so we could look at them and dissect them and come back next meeting and vote.
I'll make a motion, we take the bids under advisement and come back to the next Board of Works meeting with an evaluation.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Do we have any bulk item appeals today? Well, no? Okay. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the claims? Are there any questions? And if not, is there a motion?
Wait, there's something else on the agenda?
That's
Ready
going to go under, it's not on the agenda listed, so,
I'm sorry,
unless
it's
it would-
under other business.
Other business, yeah. So I'll just go through the claims, but I know it's coming, don't worry. I wasn't going to like pound the gavel and adjourn right away. I knew that they weren't here just because of the food truck, but I'm so glad you guys are excited.
I'll make a motion, we approve the claims, in the amount of $533,706.10.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then other business deemed proper to be brought before the board. Now you guys are up. I'm sorry, I don't know the title of it. So, I don't know what we would normally put on the agenda. Liz, do you have a recommended title for this part of the agenda in the minutes?
Yes, they were on the agenda, I believe, in March or May, and twice, and we tabled their request for a special event request. I did contact them by phone, asked them if they could be at the next meeting after the first meeting they missed. So this is basically the third time they're on the agenda. And their name is Ready to Live Entertainment. In case you guys don't have it, I believe it might be in the Dropbox, it might not, but I'll leave him explain it to you. It was in the Dropbox in May. And Michelle, was it also in both May meetings?
My name's Chris. I am the owner of Ready to Live Entertainment. I did see you guys back here in May, and we were asking at that time to close some roads that we weren't specific on. And at this time, we are specific on a couple roads that we need closed for our event on August 17th and on August 31st that we would like to get approved for today.
Could you clarify, and I apologize, this might be my own just misunderstanding. Is Ready to Live a charitable organization or is it a company?
It's a company, but I donate money and profits to charities, to the city or to cities that I do events in.
No problem, just want to make sure I understood,
Yep.
difference there. Have you guys had your stuff reviewed at this point by the police, and is the chief prepared? Chief Candiano, did you want to come up at all, or is it more of just a? Sure. I mean, I just feel like we let the fire chief come up. It just wouldn't be a normal public meeting if you weren't there to do your thing too.
I need some equal talking time. Yeah, we did have a meeting a couple weeks ago at City Hall, went over the security plan, felt pretty good about it, and then we've had some conversation back and forth over the last couple days as far as having our police department involved in some of the plans. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, we're good with things on our end. I'm just curious, how many tickets are you at now?
2,200.
2,200, okay.
It's slowed down.
So.
That's about 1,000 more than your request had estimated, so are you better response?
He estimated between 1,200 and 3,500.
Are there any roads that need to be blocked off?
Yes. We were asking to request a block off SPC Adam Harding Way from Central to South Founders, but leaving it open for the fire department to use. And then also PFC Stevens Circle Way, the same thing, closing it from Central to South Founders and allowing, letting it be open for fire lanes for the fire department. We wouldn't close South Founders, so that would still be able to be used for public. It would just be the property by Founders up into the fire department.
You need to talk to the street department, okay?
Yeah.
Make sure that you work with them on that.
I was talking to Randy.
Right, he's right back there.
Randy, is there anything you want to say here? Or if there's not, that's okay too. But if you've already had some conversations, you can clarify for us what you guys plan to do. It'd be handy. And if not, we can still, well, anyway, go ahead.
With all private events, we do have a form that the street department gives those people that hold those events. There are some costs involved with putting out the barricades and when they want to put the barricades out. So if it's during normal business hours, it's a little bit cheaper, but if they're requesting those barricades be put out on a Saturday, that's a special rate. So he does have that form to be completed.
Has that form been completed and has the bill been paid, or? I don't mean that in like an accusatory way. I'm just curious if it's already happened or needs to happen still.
The form has not been completed yet.
If we were to approve today, I think we would want a contingency. Is that correct, that that gets done and by a certain date? Is that correct?
Yes.
What days, David?
August 17th and August 31st. Yeah.
Time is something of the essence because we're looking at this Saturday.
How soon are you prepared to complete the form?
I
and
was
pay the
just
fee?
waiting to get approved, and then we were going to pay and get everything completed.
Okay.
That's fair. So yeah, I think before we put that contingency in, that's not in itself a problematic thing.
Yeah. So,
I'll make a motion, we approve the Ready to Live entertainment for the 17th and 31st of August, contingent upon getting the forms and fees paid to the street department.
yep, sounds good.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we close, is there any other business to come before the board? And if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.